What are you still salty about? In a 5th grade science test the question was, are there any stars in the solar system? I answered, yes. Teacher marked it wrong. I went up afterwards and said, what about the sun? He said, he meant that all the other stars are not in our solar system, and kept it marked wrong. Although I'm harboring this for 50 years now. He was all around one of the best teachers I ever had, and just passed away a week or so ago. But damn, that should have been marked right. Are there any beans in this jar? Yes. There appear to be 3. Wrong. I meant all the beans that are outside of the jar. You see, if you exclude all the beans inside the jar, there are no beans in the jar. You sure are stupid. Apostrophe. Lol basically. When I was in high school someone tagged up the school. They announced there would be a reward for anyone who rats anyone out. I get called in the office and find out I'm suspended for vandalization. I didn't do it and had no idea who. 4 days later I'm allowed to come back to school because they found who actually did it. I just got an apology. Public humiliation. Private apology. Well in front of my parents. We tried to see what we could do against the school. All legal advice was no to do anything. When I was in high school, I was occasionally allowed to drive my family's 3rd car. It had a slow leak in one of the tires. So we were all supposed to check the pressure and put air in it if we needed to. I picked up a friend to go to a movie, and when we came out one tire was completely flat. It wasn't the one with the leak. So I put the spare on and drove home. I got absolute hell from my parents about it. How irresponsible I was to not check it. I'd have to pay for the repair. Why didn't I call roadside assistance, etc. Took it to get fixed. Repeat the whole lecture as we're dropping it off. And the tech who did it called my mom and told her he'd found a nail in the tire and there was no way I could have seen it coming. She refused to apologize and I still had to pay for it. That's not even bad parenting. That's just bad personing. Teachers never apologized for yelling at me and saying I know what you did because they confused me with someone else with the same name who did something bad, kicking some giant chess pieces over. In 4th grade English class, EU, I'd used the word gross in a random sentence we had to write. The teacher argued that it isn't a real word. I said that it is. That I saw it a few times in video games and movies, and she said that they aren't a reliable source. I said to her that I'm gonna show it in the dictionary, but she instead grabbed me by the arm and took me out of the classroom and locked the door. To this day I'm still fuming about this. And then she had the nerve to be all chummy when I met her once in a supermarket. Gross. Edit. In both cases it was meant like disgusting, and I know there are even more meanings behind the word. I wonder if she knows by now. You could have also said you met the grossly overweight teacher in the grocer's buying a gross of eggs. You are grossly overestimating my writing skills. On a 4th grade math test we had to make a shape that had only 4 sides, 1 set of parallel lines, and only 1 right angle. There were probably more requirements, but I can't remember. I remember almost crying at my desk and spending 20 minutes on that one question, while constantly telling my teacher that it wasn't possible, but according to her it was. And the next day we went over the answer key, and the answer had 2 right angles. Yo, I had something like this happen to me. We had a paper sheet with tons of math questions. One of them was impossible and the whole class knew it. We went up to our teacher and she said no questions. Next day we were reviewing it and she said it was impossible, but still marked us all wrong. That is infuriating. When I was a freshman in college my mom gave my car to my jailbird brother. Every time he got out she'd scrape a bunch of stuff together for his fresh start without ever running it by me. He showed up to my school, changed the battery for me, and then drove away in it. He didn't tell me his intentions beforehand, so it wasn't until then that I caught on. As he drove off I called my mom and she just said I'll help you with a new one. He moved out of state with that car, wrecked it within weeks, and has since gone back to jail multiple times. Neither of them have given me a sincere apology to this day. That's why I tell young people, if the title to their car isn't in their name then it isn't their car. Your parent can't give away your car. 3 months ago I went on maternity leave. The woman hired to cover for me was being paid $3 more than I'm currently paid. She was going to be kept on as a full-time accounting assistant after I returned, but she couldn't keep up with my daily tasks and completely fucked up several databases that I had to correct when I returned to work the following month. When I asked for a raise, they offered me $50 after telling me how crucial I'm to the structure of the company. Needless to say, I'm looking for a new job. Let that be a lesson. Never expect a respectable raise from the company you are currently in. If you want more money, think you deserve more money, etc., go somewhere else. Came second in food tech competition. Made a lovely main course, then Lane's do chat biscuits with lemon posset for dessert. I made this dessert because the judges prior to this day told us don't make a cake for dessert. Guess what won first place? A fucking cake. Reminds me of the time my high school chamber orchestra participated in a music competition. We worked our tails off learning Shostakovich's Quartet Hash-8, which, if you don't know it, is crazy hard to play. Not least because it includes a certain musical dissonance that doesn't come naturally to people. And we seriously nailed it. We show up to the competition, only to discover that nearly everybody else had chosen easier, more melodic pieces, with a solid third of them all playing Tchaikovsky's Serenade for strings. Not only did we not win any of the top spots, several of which went to people playing that damn Tchaikovsky, but our judges were writing notes about how the music sounded evil. Seriously, who marks down a chamber orchestra because you think the composer wrote evil music? Imbeciles. This music competition couldn't have been that great if their judges are penalizing dissonant compositions played well. My guess is that none of them were actually musicians, and probably just someone's relative with free time. Also, congrats on performing such a challenging piece in high school. You reached a level of mastery with your instruments that very few people do, even over a lifetime. 20 years ago I had 3 friends show up at my house, and when they left my wallet with $80 in it was missing. One of the guys felt bad and gave me $20 back. 3 years after that we are in the back drive-thru and he whipped out my wallet. Still salty. His FB friend request has just been sitting there for like 2 years. Like 12 years ago, a friend of mine brought his friend to my house. My phone went missing at some point. He was the only person there that I had not known for half my life. He tried to blame it on my siblings' friends, but didn't realize that he was the only one there who didn't consider our house a second home. I ended up getting someone I knew to tell him she lost her phone, and she got him to offer her my exact phone, but at some point he must have realized what was going on, and he ghosted her before she could buy it back for me. Like 6 years later he tried to come back for a party, and I told him to get lost. Still mad. Me and some others in primary school were saying the biggest numbers we knew of. Everybody was saying like 100,000 and a million, and then I'm like a trillion. And they refused to believe it was a real number. So, my dad and mom got divorced before I was 1, and he would randomly come around once every few years to pretend to be a dad for a week or to then disappear again. This is important to the story. Anyway, I have always sucked at and hated math. We got a homework assignment. I think I was in 1st grade. We were working on 0 times whatever number. I was super excited because I understood it and knew I would get all the questions right. The whole worksheet was just questions asking was 0 times another number was. My father made me show him the worksheet when I was finished and made me change every damn answer because wow, you're stupid. Did you pay attention at all in class? I explained to the teacher when I turned it in and still got a fucking 0. I'm adding this one too, because the more I think about it, the more it irritates me. When I was about 7 or so my mother met my sister's father and got married to him. Now growing up, I grew up very poor. I would help out my mother and my father when he was around with jobs. Things like landscaping work and such to earn money to buy my own school supplies, toys, etc. My sister's dad had a lot of money, so we didn't struggle for once a year or so they were married. When I was little I was very much into Pokemon. I had tons of cards, books, figures, games, you name it. I even had the yellow version game for Gamma Boy Color, but in Japanese. It was an exclusive release from Japan. Not to mention every ultra rare card you can think of. A lot of it was stuff I had bought myself or was a very, Very rare gift given by family. My sister's dad ended up being extremely religious and deciding that Pikachu is a devil and threw away every single bit of Pokemon stuff one day while I was at school. Everything. Even my fucking Pokemon washcloth. Now the real kicker of the story, of course. He and my mother got divorced and he retained custody of my sister on weekends. There was a few times where I had gone over to his house to watch my sister or whatever, and literally her entire humping room was done in Pokemon. She had Pokemon everything, and her dad has a lot of money, so I mean she had fancier Pokemon everything. The newest everything. The cherry on top was that my sister barely knew what Pokemon was. We are 7 years apart. I still wonder if he did that. I know it's extremely juvenile, but it still pisses me off. Holy shit. That pisses me the hell off. I couldn't imagine having a stranger introduced into my life just to have hundreds of dollars of things that were important to you randomly thrown away and for literally no reason. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I mean, I've accepted it. That's honestly just my life in a nutshell. But even though I've accepted it, it still makes me a little salty when I think about it. At the end of the day, it's just stuff.